Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Brick Street Podcast. We have an interesting character here on the podcast this week, Coach Reneker of the cross country and track and field teams. How are you doing today,
I'm doing great,
Coach?
Corey. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.
No problem. So, Coach, where did you come from and how did you end up at Mississippi College?
Yeah, so great story. I'm originally from Ohio. You can tell by my accent here that I'm not originally from the South. My wife and I, spent 20 professional years trying to climb to the top, and it was an October day, and we both came home one day and we realized that we were not doing what we were supposed to do. And so she was a tenured professor and I was at a Division I school, and had saw a position online from Mississippi College, and the tag on the bottom was, we have plenty of time, we want to make the right hire, and we both longed to be a part of a Christian community, and so applied. Actually, my resume was kind of discarded because, coming from a Division I school and wanting to be a part of a Division II doesn't look very normal, but came down here and just fell in love with the school, and it was an easy choice to do that. So since then, my wife has been blessed. She works at the medical center and been here for almost 4 years now, so things have been great.
So what does your wife really do at this medical center?
Sure.
Can you talk about her
Yeah.
a little bit?
So Jennifer, her background is in physical therapy, and she worked as a clinician, actually doing the moving, and PT stands for pain and torture, so that's what she was really good at. And eventually, she just was kind of getting tired of doing the same type of repetitive things, and I encouraged her to think about research as an idea because she has a very inquisitive mind. And as we put her through her PhD, she just not only fell in love with it, but was really, really good at it. And so at the medical center, she actually is studying the effects of concussion, both how do we prevent it, and then how do we allow people to rehab much faster than that. And it's cutting edge. It's only been done in like the last 10 years, and she's on the forefront. So my wife is a medical researcher.
Can you talk about how she can kind of help you out with cross country, especially with concussions and rehabs and injuries?
Yeah, so my background also is on the medical side and exercise physiology, and so a lot of times she'll be at practice and she'll be running with the women's team, and she'll be able to identify gait type things, if there's anything that's going on, and she can actually pick out if there's some kind of structural weakness, and then I will take that back to our strength and conditioning staff and to our athletic training staff. And then what's great about the staff here is that we get to have really good conversations. They don't push me out of the room. They want to hear my input on where things are, and so because of that, we're really good on not having injuries, and our time out because of overuse is mitigated because of a whole bunch of eyes looking at the athletes.
So when someone says that there's like a plan for a meet, that runners maybe are going to run a little bit slower to get the pace up for another runner,
right?
What does that mean, and what goes into a plan for a
Sure.
cross country?
Yeah, so I think the important thing, we all have specialties. You're a football player. I work with the little kids that run in their underwear, and I played soccer and I wrestled, and I think that knowing that sports have their idiosyncrasies, they have their little nuances that the outside observer doesn't know. We're all armchair quarterbacks, and we think we know everything about sport. But even professional badminton players, or people who do sports that we just don't pay attention to, a good coach could sit down and talk about all of the things that go into the plan and prep. And so, depending on the environment, is it hilly? Is it hot? Are we running on sand? We'll really go into how we approach the attack of a race. And so, I describe it in 3 different phases. There's, you do your race like a game of solitaire, which is it does not matter who we're running against. I'm trying to run the best race that I can. And the next one is playing checkers. And checkers is that we're playing defense, we're holding back, and we're waiting for our opponent to overextend themselves. And then there's playing chess. And chess is we're matching tit for tat, blow for blow. We're trying to establish our territory. And if you make a move, I'm making a move. And so a lot of times with my freshmen, we're trying to teach them these strategies, and we'll practice different things, making sure that they know how to do it. So the race that you brought your staff to, that was a very solitaire plan where we were doing our stuff, and then we launched an attack at the very end, and a lot of our guys and our women caught 30 or 40 people in the last half of the race, and that's why we were able to finish so well. So strategies like that allow us to take game plans into high stakes races like regionals and conference championships, and it allows us to not be a one-trick pony. All we do is run the ball, all we do is pass the ball, all we do is set up for corner kicks, when we can actually be able to do multiple attack patterns.
Besides obviously being on a track, what's the difference between long distance track and cross country?
Yeah, so a lot of it really goes into the training. As an exercise physiologist, we talk about the duration of the event. And so if you're a sprinter, sprinters last between 10 and 12 seconds, and you're trying to train the body to produce as much maximal power. If you're a football player, plays last anywhere between 3 and 10 seconds most. And so you're training the body to elicit as much power as possible. If you're a distance runner, cross-country runner, it can be 15 to 30 minutes. And so you're really trying to train the body to be as economical and as smooth and as efficient as possible. So think about buying a hybrid car. Hybrid cars exist because you're trying to use as little gas as possible versus a hot rod. You push the gas pedal down and you're trying to go as fast as you can. So cross-country is different because everything that we do is training for efficiency. Whereas track, you have a lot of different events where you're just trying to push a ball as far as you can or pop up into the air as fast as you can. And so those are the differences in training.
So, talking around with people on campus, they say that your office is kind of like a mystery box.
Okay.
Where, Justin Graves from FCA will go in there and ask you for thumb rollers and to help his back.
Yeah.
And you give him equipment to help his back. What exactly is in your office?
Yeah, so that's why it's a mystery, because I don't know if we could talk about it. But, a lot of times the athletes will come in, and practice is very succinct, and we have a high-achieving academic, and we practice at 5 o'clock in the morning, and by the time that we're done, they're going to therapy, or they're going to breakfast, or, they're getting ready for class. And so a lot of times they'll just trickle in throughout the day, and they'll just sit on the ground, and they'll have a foam roller, and they'll just roll things out. And, a lot of times we have people on staff that are also runners, and they do things, and they come in and they're like, hey, I've got this tight thing here, what do I do about this? And I just talk to them about it. And then eventually we'll just start talking about their job or talking about their family. And so, just think about having a cup of coffee. Well, they come in and they just go through some rehab type stuff with me.
So there's a rumor going around that you do not like restaurants.
Yeah, so it's not that I don't like restaurants. It's I haven't found any in the area that I like the most, and hopefully that doesn't offend too many people. But my wife and I used to go Wednesday night church, Saturday night church, and there was always our date nights and things like that. It was really the only time that we saw each other. And then when we came here, we tried to replicate that, and we just kept going to different places. We love Fuzzies, but that's just not that's not a date night. Often that's just a quick taco and stuff like that. And we just haven't found the things that we like. Now we'll go into Fondren, and there might be a Greek restaurant, but we just haven't found that restaurant. We're like, man, let's go and let's get that salad from that place that makes us feel good. But I know that, from where you're from, you probably have lots of great places to eat.
Oh, man, we have a ton. And then, I have family members that actually own restaurants.
Yeah.
If you ever go to
Sure,
New Orleans.
sure. The 3-hour drive, right?
Desi Vegas Steakhouse, Mr. John's Steakhouse on St. Charles, a world-famous St. Charles Avenue in New Orleans.
So as I get older, a good steak is getting harder and harder to find, so I'll have to take you up on that and find out.
All right.
Yeah.
5-star restaurant.
All right. I like
Saints
it.
And Pelicans players.
I like it. That's good.
So let me ask you this question. All right. So when people talk about you as the smartest guy on campus,
I just use big words. That's. I just read a dictionary when I was a kid, and so I use those words. That's all. I wouldn't say I'm smart.
So you travel a lot. What kind of marathons have you run?
Yeah. So, I think that when you're a collegiate runner, that inevitably is where we all go to greener pastures, is trying out the marathon. And so I was more of a middle distance runner in college. I ran the half mile, the 1,500, the mile. 6'2", 170 pounds does not make a great distance runner, but I try to run a marathon. And I've done 8 of them. I've done 3 Boston marathons and a bunch of races in the West, but a lot of it was more local and things like that. And honestly, Corey, I was training a bunch of older guys who were trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon, and so a lot of them I was just running with them, 26-mile run to go with them. But it's a horrible event. It's miserable. When people say they want to run a marathon, I usually say, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And then I ask them the next one is, "Do you want to just finish it? Because celebrities can finish a marathon, or do you want to race it? Because if you want to race it, there's a lot of pain and there's a lot of stuff, and it can actually set you down. It could take a month off of running if you actually race a marathon." And so when you watch the professionals when they run and they're smiling, it's because they do 100 to 120 miles a week, and so a 26-mile run is just another day for them. So marathons are tough, and so I want to make sure that I counsel people: are you just doing this to chop it off your bucket list, or are you doing this because you want to see how fast you can go?
The past 2 years, this cross-country team has really grown. Can you talk about that progress since you've gotten here, and how have you built this program?
Yeah, well, MC is really set up for athletic success, and I really thank the athletic department and the administrative team that goes into there. And I have a lot of freedom to be able to act in ways that I want, as an assistant coach, which I really much appreciate that. But you kind of work backwards. If you think about sports, you look at the Patriots, and everybody sees that what Bill Belichick does is kind of the guru, and people try to emulate that. And you look at basketball, you look at the Warriors and the kind of coach that Curry is, and people try to work backwards, that reverse engineering. That's exactly what I do as well, is I look at the region and I look at the conference and I say, what type of abilities do our athletes have to get there? And then my plan was for a 4-year period, systematically recruit and train athletes to become that good. But at the basement level of that is, what is your team culture? You're only as good as what the average of your top 5 to 7 guys and girls are willing to do. And so that was the goal, is really training team leadership. Talking about, I don't want to bring in a bunch of hired mercenaries. You're really good, go out and run your one race. A team that works together in any team sport is better, and cross country is no different than each other. So the way that we've gotten better is because I have challenged young men and young women to take leadership roles, and they've embraced that. They don't see their job as just run as fast as you can. It's, how can I make the people around me run better? And then I actually try to counsel them with leadership techniques on how, when they go out for a 10 or 15 mile run, I can't say anything to them. It's them talking to each other. And if my captains and my leaders, if they know what the vision is, because they've heard me say it so many times, then that is an hour to an hour and a half every time that they go for a run, where they're just repeating the vision over and over again. So we have our conference championships this weekend, and I know that I can just send them out, and I don't need to say a word, because the captains on both sides of the gender they know exactly what to say, they know exactly what to do, they've been there before, and the reason why they're so good at it is because the captains before them. And so the passing on of that legacy, the passing on of that tradition, the passing on of here's what our identity is, really what takes a program and takes it to the next level. So you look at the powers, what do they do, and instead of trying to emulate them, you look at the very, very best, and you're like, how can I empower the people that I have to do great things, and not try to make them little versions of me, but make them better versions of themselves.
So obviously you want to win
Yep.
GSC this week,
Right.
but what do you guys need to do to position yourselves well into the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, so I think the best way to look at it is, if we took our Mississippi College football team and said, we got a tough opponent today, we're going to go and play the Clinton Junior High team. I don't think there would be a doubt on what the result would be on that right there. And a lot of times in our sport, it goes the same way. Like, you can have evenly matched football, basketball, soccer games, and it might come down to a Hail Mary, a last-second corner kick or something like that. But in our sport, you and I are never going to beat a Kenyan. We're not going to do that. It doesn't matter how much we train; it's just not going to happen. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to win those little individual battles. And so we score 5, and if your 1 beats their 1, and if your 2 beats their 2, then you end up doing good. But then it also has to do with how good your number 5 is. And so, not to get to the nuance of it, but what we want to do is we want to continue to recruit very well, bring in people that come in already talented so they can improve. But we want to really define the importance of making sure that your 5th runner is as good as they can be. So a lot of times our 6, 7, and 8 runners are running to push them up. So in our conference, we have other schools that are ranked in the nation right now, and it's going to be difficult for us to beat them, but I know that if we can be really, really close, we bring back almost every single person on both sides. And so we're really gearing towards to being a team that is in the top of the conference and qualifying for nationals every year. So we could do it this year, but this year really is going to be a springboard into the next 4 years as well.
You talked about Mississippi College and how you always wanted to work at a Christian
Sure.
university. Can you talk about your experiences at Mississippi College thus far?
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think that, when I moved down here, I was by myself for about a month, and the people were just so gracious and they were so kind. And, bringing people in from out of state, like from Illinois or from Ohio or from Texas, getting them on campus is different, because saying that, we're a school in Mississippi, people kind of wonder what that's like, especially from the Midwest. But the moment they get down here, they cannot believe how incredible of a school it is. And that has nothing to do with me. That has to do with the genuine culture that exists at Mississippi College. So the school sells itself. Extremely affordable, especially compared to schools in Texas and in the Midwest that offer the same type of package. But it doesn't matter if it's the people in the cafeteria, the people in the library, the people on sports media. Everybody comes with the same genuine fruits of the Spirit inside of them. We are genuinely happy people, and you can't hide that. And it's what makes us different as Christians. And I think that if people are truly looking for something different, Mississippi College is a great place to get an education and to be an athlete. So
you work with Callaloo a lot.
I do. Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit about Kyle and his personality?
Yeah.
What is he like working with?
So, I like Kyle, and he wants to do well. He wants to do well at his job, and I appreciate that about people. I want to be good. Like, I only have so much time on this earth, and I want to be excellent at my job. And to see him, and a lot of times the reason my room is mystery is because nobody ever comes in. When they come in, they shut the door and they just kind of hang out. And Kyle is constantly just picking my brain, asking questions, and we talk about stuff. And I like inquisitive people, and so he covers our sport. And a lot of times people have their favorite sports. You're a football player, and so I would imagine you love covering football stories. I think that's a great thing that you like to do that. But Kyle isn't intimidated to come in and ask me questions about what's going to happen at conference. And it's not like a how's the weather question. Like, he genuinely wants to know. You ask me about the nuances of being a track and cross country. He asks me those questions all the time, and it's not because he's being nice or being friendly. It's because he genuinely wants to understand that stuff. I think having an attention to his medical history has allowed him to enjoy his job more and just be more fun with and being laid back. And I think that's what's great. You know this about him. I mean, he's a great guy to be around, and so I like that. Our sport is not one of the primary sports, and for anybody to take an interest in it just shows me that they have a genuine love of the coaches and the athletes that are in there, and I admire that in anybody that's in their job. We have people that are behind the cameras right now, and they greet me and welcome me, and that means they have a genuine love for people, and that's who Kyle Lewis really is.
So I got one more question. So I worked in the weight room the past couple of years,
right?
And I used to always pay attention to y'all, what y'all would break down each and every day, and it'd be something different.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of all sport is a grind because we prepare for something for the weekend. Once every 7 days, we're trying to get up to get ready for something, and then you have your off season where you might be waiting months before you do something, and so I want to bring my very best every single day, and so. Our cross-country or track athletes, they're skinny, and the weight room is usually the last place that they end up wanting to be because they're not good at it. So I want to bring energy, and I want to bring. I'm happy to be there. I want you to be happier. So we have cheer squads on campus, and they would do a whole bunch of cheers, and so I just started copying some of the cheers that they would do. So anytime that we'll have a breakdown, we'll just try to have the athlete of the day or somebody on staff, and we'll invite them to encapsulate the mood with breaking it down with one word. And some of them are awkward and they're embarrassing, and they don't even know how to do a team breakdown. But I think that the routine of doing it all the time, it brings closure to the day. We're here for a reason. We're doing this. We're going to do it again tomorrow. We're going to do it again next week. And this is how we send ourselves off into the day. So, if you're wanting me to break it down, I'm not going to embarrass myself in front of everybody. We're not going to do that today. But I think that really is some closure to the day. We got our work done. It's time to go on and live our lives for the rest of the day till tomorrow.
We're not going to break it down.
No, I'm not going to break it down today. No, I'm too old for that now. I'm officially in my mid-40s, and so if you would ask me last year at this time, I would have definitely broke it down.
Well, thank you for
Thank you so much.
on.
Appreciate it.
That's it for the Brick Street Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.